Hey everyone, this is Gary Kay, and welcome to another Launch and Learn, one of my favorite days of the month, where we get to explore new products, new technology, what people are doing in our industry to make their lives better, and also how we're helping bring the workplace back, which is exactly the topic we're talking about today. You're going to be excited about today's topic. It's with one of the industry's coolest companies that you may not even heard of. They're called Cyviz, Cyviz. I've known this company. I've been watching this company from afar for many years, and they have, you might, even if you know them, you might think of them as one kind of company, but not realize they do a lot more than just what you think that they do. So we'll get into that in just a second. But first, I want to welcome everyone to the Launch platform. I also want to welcome you who are on LinkedIn right now, taking a sneak peek at our Launch and Learn today. If you want to participate in our Launch and Learn actively, then all you got to do is go to launch.com, LAVNCH.com, hit the Live Now button, and then you'll be able to log right in or create an account less than 1 minute and be in our Launch platform. That will allow you to take advantage of a lot of the features that we have here on Launch. Most importantly, you'll be able to ask our guests questions, and we're going to actually have someone from Cyviz on and a client actually using it, a big client actually using it. So to the window to the right of me here, that's where you can actually put in chat questions, and I'll look at those questions. You can vote them up if you feel like one's more important than the other. Vote them down even if you want. I don't know why you would do that. That's kind of mean. Anyway, below that, there's some poll questions that we want you to take in case that, we want to learn a little bit more about you and what you know about collaboration. And Cyviz is truly taking collaboration to the next level. And what's cool about this product is that it's a product that uses a lot of hardware, but it is software centric, which means you can use it anywhere on any device and do lots of cool things with it. So we're going to get into that in just a second. But below polling, we have networking. That's where all of you are hanging out right now. You can talk to each other, or you can even pose a question there, and I'll get a copy of that question. Below that, you'll see the assets on the site from Cyviz. We've got some papers and some other items on there, some links, so you can learn more about them. Of course, you can always go to cyviz.com, CYVIZ. Should maybe CCAT. Y, got that. V, Victor. That's my middle name. I, as in the letter I, okay, and Z, CYVIZ.com is the name of the company. Check them out right now. You can load up that page. You can actually book a demo and actually do a live demo, kind of like what we're going to do now. We're actually going to do more than a live demo today. So this is a Launch and Learn. We do a couple of these a month where we're just taking, 45 minutes out of your day each day, a couple times a month to introduce you to new products, new technologies, or ways to use them you might have not have thought of. So I want to bring on Peter Stewart from Cyviz on because, hey, Peter, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Gary. Thanks for having me on, and thanks everybody for taking time out of your day to join us. We're looking forward to sharing some practical examples with you, having some good discussion and debate about return to office and what's going on. So looking forward to the conversation.
Well, obviously, there's a lot of debates going on around there. I mean, you have companies like Disney where they brought back an older CEO who had left and retired, brought back him back, and immediately he says everybody's coming back to the office if they want to have a job. Right. You have Elon Musk saying the same kind of things. And then you have other companies that are sort of like in a hybrid mode where they're allowing their employees to come to work a couple of days a week, but come into the office a couple of days a week, but work from anywhere else a couple of days a week. And this is kind of, for companies that aren't prepared for this, Peter, it kind of wreaks a little bit of havoc, right? Because it takes more than just a Zoom call or a Teams application to really make it where you can collaborate creatively, right? That's the key thing, is that just talking on video is one thing. That's the same as having a meeting by a water cooler, but actually collaborating is a whole different thing, meaning working on a project simultaneously.
It's a really good point. And we'll get into some examples about it. I mean, there's a difference between continuity of operations that we all had to go through and driving growth, transformation, innovation. It also depends a lot on what your function is. But we're seeing some general trends, and I'm excited that we're going to have a really good friend of mine on, and a global expert on digital workplace, Michael Pershula from Accenture, So we're going to get some different perspectives today, and I look forward to some spirited questions in the chat as well.
Yeah, and I mean, Accenture is one of those companies that has people working all around the world in all different positions, from creative all the way through business analysis and consulting and accounting and things like that. So, Peter, I'm going to kind of turn it over to you for a bit because I want you to kind of present a little bit about what Cyviz is, who you are, what you do. You've got some cool shots set up there in your office so people can see how, what it's like to operate the platform. And then bring on bring on Michael, and then we're gonna and by the way, I want all of y'all participating. So if you're watching this is not a one-way discussion. We want you to ask questions, challenge Peter, challenge me, challenge Michael as he comes on, because this is going to be an opportunity for you to bring in a tool like Cyviz into a client's operation and show them how it actually solved their problem. So Peter, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Sure. So one thing, a lot of you are joining remote today, so thank you for that. I intentionally joined from one of our experience centers here, so I've got a bunch of different camera setups here, so you get a sense of the space that I'm in here today, and later I'll give you a live demo of that, and so you kind of get to see different perspectives. But I will be the in-person participants today, and then we're going to have several that are probably the majority remote. So the medium is part of the message here where you have different perspectives. Now, in terms of where we're coming from, Cyviz has been a company focused on next level collaboration for over 25 years, headquartered out of Norway, but over the last 25 years has expanded globally. And most of our customers are large global enterprises and government defense agencies. So our topic for today is next level collaboration, and we have a pretty aspirational vision in terms of helping the world work better. But that honestly is what our executive leadership team has as a vision, and that's our aspiration every day for each and every one of us. And today you'll get a sense of some of the different customers and partners that we have. But for our discussion today, we're going to have Gary, with the rAVe agency. I have tremendous respect for you and the group work that your group does. My background over the last 25 years is all about enterprise communications and collaboration. So that's been very much my entire focus for the career. And I love sharing what I see in the market and trends, and then helping our customers and partners with that. And then, as I mentioned, Michael Pershula is joining us from Accenture, where he leads their intelligent and digital workplaces practice. So he's working with large enterprises each and every day. So what we're going to cover today in our conversation, and I stress conversation because I really look forward to it being two-way, is what are we seeing with return to office? I mean, it's a hot topic. Every knowledge worker and actually field worker can relate to this and the challenges and opportunities of that. We're going to talk about this concept of high impact collaboration spaces. If you're going to make the effort and bother to come into the office, what are you actually doing it for? And then I'm going to kind of give a live demonstration of some of the things that go into an enhanced collaborative experience. So Gary, that's kind of our topic. I'd love to have Michael join us and just do a quick intro from his side.
Yeah, thanks, Peter, and thanks, Gary, for having me on today. Definitely exciting topic, something I'm super passionate about, and from a background perspective, like Peter, I've been working in this space pretty much my entire career. Some may say too long, but I'm super passionate about how we use technology to help people get their jobs done.
Good deal. Thanks again for joining me on this. So let's dive in. So we're going to talk a bit about one of the hottest topics. All you got to do is open up the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Fortune, Forbes, pick any of them, and you will see an article almost every day about return to office and how CEOs and executive teams are struggling to make decisions and policies around this. So it's kind of funny to me. I'm going to bring out a prop here. Those of us in the industry that invented products, created products, went to great lengths to get people on video like we are today. We would create cool boxes like this and ship out thousands and thousands of webcams to try to get people on video. All it took was a global pandemic to actually get that to happen, because people actually saw value from it. And when there's value and benefits, then people will adopt those technologies. So here you see, a home worker who has done what most everybody has done, upgraded their home work environment, multiple displays, upgraded PC or Mac, upgraded microphones, speakers, right? They perfected that over time over the last couple of years. So they have a great setup, and technology also facilitated this. Fiber, cable, internet, high-speed internet, Teams, Zoom, WebEx, all going through like 5 years of innovation compressed into a couple of months during the pandemic. So now you've got a great setup. You even have people that have standing desks, right, and more flexibility. And I love how all these pictures always had like a dog or cat, but that's part of the dynamic as well, right? The work-life balance aspect of it. So, a lot of people are very happy with these spaces. For those joining us internationally, though, I will share that one of the Wall Street Journal analyses showed there's a big difference between what the US is doing and the rest of the world. And some of that is related to housing space in terms of the amount of space in individual homes, right? Internationally, you have less, generally speaking, of these separate rooms or home offices. So there has been a greater return to work, return to office on an international basis based on a couple of those studies. So as we think about this, there's a push and pull dynamic. But I love this picture because this is the pull dynamic visually shown of, executives wanting to pull people back. And it's for various reasons. One is like the gut feeling of people are more productive at the office, right? And that's a gut feeling. And you have some generational aspects. You have some studies that show that as well. And you have, Gary, as you mentioned, Elon Musk, if you're not here Monday, 9 a.m., we'll take that as your tender of resignation. So that was a really, one side of the pendulum, but he's kind of come off of that some as well. Disney comes back in and says the same as well. So as we think about, return to office carrot or stick, this is an article just from 2 days ago. New York Times, office mandates, pickleball, beer, what will make hybrid work stick? So lots of different perspectives on this, but the open area you're seeing in this picture, I picked it intentionally. I don't think that is what's going to drive people back. Because if people need to be heads down doing work, they're going to feel I can do that a lot more productively, uninterrupted by others at home. So they're not going to come back for this specifically, outside of maybe some social interaction elements. So this is where I wanted to bring Michael in and his perspective. He's a prolific writer and has authored some of these things. Michael, I'd like to get your perspective. Like, what is it that's going to bring people back? Is it we're tracking your bad scans? So, that stick element of it, or, what do you think?
Yeah, great question, Peter, and one that I get asked all the time. What we've seen be successful and what we've seen resonate with people, right? Organizations are looking for the silver bullet. I get asked all the time, what do we need to do to make people come back? What do we need to buy? What do we need to put on? What service do we need to provide? And depending on who you talk to, people in the real estate market are talking about, well, we need to have a bigger cafeteria, or we need to have a pickleball court, a better gym. People in the HR side of things are talking about soft activities that happen, making people feel more welcome, and tech is running around from an IT perspective, thinking about, how can they, deploy the latest and greatest thing in the office, and that's going to make people come back. But really, what we're seeing work in the spaces that they work correctly is it's really a combination of all of these things, and it's not necessarily something that can be done overnight, right? There's definitely, to your point before, some market relevance to this, not only just in countries, but also in cities around the US. The things that we're seeing are attractive to people in New York and not necessarily the same as San Francisco, or not the same as Houston or Dallas. But really, it's this combination of what we see as people, place, and technology all coming together, and making really the right mix of those things for the organization. And it's not about telling people to come back in, but it's about building spaces that have capabilities, have feelings, and have this connection that people haven't been able to get at home, right? While we know, we don't necessarily know what is the one thing that will bring them in. We all know that the one thing that people are missing being at home is that connection with others and being able to socialize and be in proximity to others. And so thinking about services in the office that make those things attractive to people. And we've been using this term at Accenture for some time now, right? Is we have to earn the commute of these people, right? What makes the office worth their time, their effort, them changing around how they've been running their lives for the last 3 years to actually come to the office?
I think that's a good term there, and it's a good segue to this. Everybody's been looking for like the definitive study that statistically proves productivity is better in the office, and there hasn't been like that one definitive study. But one I can share is that the Boston Consulting Group did, BCG, just in the fall, right? Hundreds of companies worldwide. They looked at a lot of different factors, but as it relates to this topic, I thought this was really relevant for us. And that's this concept of deskless worker-focused initiatives are falling behind. And what they mean by this is if you want to maintain operations, continuity of operations, yep, we can do that 100% remote. But if you're trying as an executive team to drive growth, transformation, strategic initiatives that require immense creativity and innovation, then it's proven hybrid collaboration can actually facilitate that. And I thought that was really interesting. And they created this kind of for the C-suite and management team, but I think it relates to everybody. So let's dive into that a little bit more. So one of the things I'll share here is going back is Avixa, the AV industry global organization. And they had an interesting perspective on a webinar just last week, which was around disruption provides opportunity. So as you have all this chaos and disruption and people are trying to decide, stay at home, go to the office, different policies, they're changing policies, 2 days, 3 days. France is talking about a 4-day work week as part of this as well. But disruption provides opportunity. And we are in a disruptive phase right now. We're concerned about the recession coming on. Silicon Valley Bank just went belly up on Friday, 8th largest bank in the US. That caught people by surprise, and now it's potentially 3. But there is opportunity here with the disruption. And that's what gets me excited. I've been with disruptive technology players my entire career. So where there is chaos, where there's disruption, where there's uncomfort, there's opportunity. So with that, one thing is certain, hybrid is certainly here to stay. We're not going to go back to the way it was before with 100% in office. But if we're candid, pre-2020, not everybody was in the office anywhere. There was a ton of people that were hybrid or even 100% remote before then. So now I want to jump into this concept of high impact collaboration spaces. You've heard terms like high value, mission critical, but I like this as it bubbled up to the top of everybody's vernacular last year. And by this, there's a Frost & Sullivan study that came out just in Q4, talking about and actually studying formally the market of high impact spaces. At first glance, you might think, oh, there's only a couple of boardrooms or a couple of operation centers or maybe innovation center here or there. But as you peel the onion back a little bit and look at where do you have group collaborative spaces where you need flexibility and you want it to be a destination. It's a term, Michael, that you started using early on 2 years ago. Like you want something to be a destination, to be worth the effort of getting your attire on, making the commute, the time and cost element of that. And you want to go in for a purpose. So it's a destination with a purpose. And as you think about what type of group collaborative spaces that are like that and wanting it to be an upgraded, elevated experience, that's what high impact means. And you can see there, like quantifying that it's 4.7 million spaces like this worldwide in both the commercial and government sector. That's quite a lot of spaces like that, and many of them are in need of enhancement and to be able to provide that. So our perspective, after 25 years of being focused as a specialist on these advanced spaces, this is kind of how we categorize it. You have group collaboration rooms. You have operation centers and command and control. Those are definitely mission critical as they run 24/7, 365. They did not stop during COVID. You have multi-purpose spaces. And that's a term I really like. Like if you make an investment in a space to maintain it, to upgrade the technology, it's great when it can be multi-purpose. Small meetings, large meetings, presentations, or this gentleman right here is a focus group participant who navigated their way through a grocery store buying a toothbrush. Or you have innovation centers on the bottom left. That's been the hottest category coming out of COVID, as you might imagine, because that's a revenue generator for companies that have briefing programs. Then you have executive boardrooms, and then you have event spaces. And so for each of these, we have some examples on this, but that's the perspective that Cyviz is coming from, because these are the kinds of spaces that we focused on for the last 25 years. So Michael, I'm going to come back to you. When we started working together, there were 350,000 employees. Now you've grown to 700,000, right? So you've gone through a tremendous amount of growth during that time. You were making investments in these spaces even before COVID, during COVID, after COVID. So why are physical collaboration spaces important to Accenture? I mean, aren't your consultants paid to always not be in the office? Shouldn't you actually have no offices?
Yeah, that's a great question, Peter. And we pivoted the viewpoint we had on real estate even before the pandemic. We went away from purely just building offices for our people to work in, and we've definitely gone through a transition, actually quite the opposite to most organizations during the pandemic, where we used to have really low occupancy in our offices from Monday through to Thursday, and Friday was the day that our offices were the busiest. That was really because our people were out working on our sites, on sites with our clients. And now we're seeing people in the office more, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday being the busiest days. But the thing that we did put in place prior to the pandemic, and one of the things that we've continued to double down on, is making the office a place where we do come together to collaborate, and not just ourselves. The latest iterations of our spaces are called innovation hubs. And they're places that are specifically designed for our own employees, for our partners, and for our clients to come together and collaborate and work together on creating new products, solving issues collaboratively, and really, building these spaces to be a mind meld between the best thinkers that are around, and then also getting access to services and tools that you can't get in the traditional office. So we've definitely have made a focus on building these places as destination locations, not only for our employees but for our partners and our clients as well.
Right. So I picked a couple of examples for you. It was a little hard because you have over 100 of them worldwide, but I know one of the flagship ones is in New York City, One Manhattan West, top 9 floors, beautiful views up there, but more importantly is what you're trying to do in these spaces. So this was at a recent conference as well, right? And you have this large video wall there that someone could say, oh, that's just digital signage, but you found other creative ways of using it during events. So maybe, I think this was a recent work tech conference that you guys sponsored. How are you looking at these collaborative event spaces?
Yeah, great question. And yeah, this is a screenshot of actually what is officially the cafeteria in the building, which turns into an event space, for a formal event space. I was up in New York last week. There was a dance class going on here at 4:00 in the afternoon. One afternoon, I think they were teaching swing or something. There's a lot of ad hoc sort of hackathons that happen in there. The team rolls in 10 or 20 sort of digital whiteboards into the space. But the key thing about these featured spaces, and in New York City we have 9 of them specifically, they're all configured in a different way. They're all set up slightly differently, but they're all really designed around multiple applications for a specific technology. So the rooms and the spaces and the tech that's in them are designed to facilitate a specific type of activity or a suite of different types of activities. And whether they be a large group session, this one here that's getting shown is part of a divisible training room that we have, which is 3 rooms that combine into one, where we have a large Cyviz wall here at the front of the room, and then 3 or 4 more large displays that go along the wall down the long side of the space. But they're all really designed to be used in various different applications for various different types of activity. And so every space has a purpose, and for every thing that we need to do there's a space that has been specifically designed.
I gotta ask you here, Michael, like what
Sure.
purpose here? Are you guys playing video games, or is there something more strategic going on here?
No, that's definitely a video game, Peter. It's part of the return to the office game here. But no, this is actually one of my favorite rooms in One Manhattan West. It's a room we called Periscope. And here we have a floor-to-ceiling video wall that here you'll actually see us in the metaverse using the nth floor. And a application called One Accenture Park, which is the virtual world that we use to train more than 150,000 people that joined the organization during the pandemic. This specific room has a couple of different main applications. One, I like to use it with the metaverse with a group of people because the people that we're working with appear in there in life size. But we also have a number of these in other buildings around the world, and this allows us to do sort of real person-to-person, real-size video conferencing from one building to the other. So it's not just looking at someone's face, but we can configure this room in more of a lounge room type of scenario. People can be standing up directly in front of the wall. We can also use it as a backdrop for recording real-time media. And recording podcasts and things like that. So it's a multi-use application space that it has been built together with the Cyviz technology.
Perfect. And I mean, a quick note I'll make is you guys are really on the bleeding edge there of using virtual reality, for onboarding of your employees, like where you couldn't bring them all in for a certain time. And so you send them all Oculus headsets, became best friends with Mark Zuckerberg through that, I'm sure, buying 80,000. But you're really forward thinking. And now you're seeing a hybrid right here of like, you're in person, but you're also in the metaverse. And I think we're going to see more of that. Like, does it make sense for everybody to have a VR headset physically in the room? Or does it more make sense maybe one person does and everybody else is seeing what they're experiencing? So I think we're going to see some interesting interplays between the physical and digital worlds through this. So I look forward to seeing where that goes. So another example I wanted to share is an interesting one because you got the big three now in terms of collaborative software applications, which is Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Cisco WebEx. And a lot of the press has historically been on Zoom, but kind of quietly, Microsoft Teams has become one of the dominant platforms. And I think it's interesting that Microsoft themselves, starting with Satya Nadella, the CEO, has said, 100% remote, 100% virtual isn't good for Microsoft as a company. And I don't think it's good for our customers and partners. We believe in the value of hybrid. So they've invested a lot also into their physical collaborative room technologies called Microsoft Team Rooms. But what you're seeing here is there's 46 Microsoft technology centers around the world. And in them, they have this thing called an envisioning theater that they co-developed originally with Walt Disney Company. And on the top left, you can see the first instance of it, which was kind of analog and very physical oriented, physical desks for home, mobile, and office. And then they wanted to go through a digital transformation and with just a push of a button, go to different industries and different scenes. So what you're seeing here, for example, is the industry of retail. And you're seeing a user journey. They're using Disney storytelling, starting on the left of somebody getting ready for their big Las Vegas trip. They need a brand new suit for that. So they start researching that on their computer. And just as all of us do, we continue that journey on our mobile phones. And then it ends up with a personal, curated experience in the physical store. So against that background, Microsoft can then show specific technologies that enable that. SQL Server, Microsoft Dynamics, Teams. So we partner with them to develop some unique things on our platform so that you could bring up dynamically different video sources against that digital stage. And I find that fascinating for multiple reasons. One, it's just really cool and works well to tell stories and people to understand the link between technologies and transformation of the business process. But it's also interesting that Microsoft themselves believes in the value of hybrid and the importance of elevating those spaces. So we've now done 22 of those worldwide, and it's been a really great journey with them to assist them. Another example I'm going to share, I thought I'd bring something really unique to the table. KPMG, this is the audit and tax side. They had had some innovation centers before, but they felt they wanted to really elevate the experience. So Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C., where the Wizards play and the basketball teams play, and they have concerts. 95% of the time, their hospitality suite was unused. So they decided to flip it and said, like, what can we use in that 95% of the time? So they invested in an innovation center, gutted the whole hospitality suite, rebuilt it with design thinking workshops in mind. And rather than hearing about it from me, we've actually queued up a video where you're going to hear about the owner of the Capital One Arena talk about this novel concept of why would it make sense to try reusing a space in a different way. So I think we got a little video queued up for you here.
We own this building and we pay a mortgage on it 24/7, 365 days a year. Yet we play our games from 7 to 10 o'clock at night. And so I've always felt that if we could find ways to make the building come alive more hours of the day, 24 hours, it would be best for our community, it'd be great for our fans, and it'd be great for us as a business. Most big ideas are simple and get executed in a way that the community says, why didn't I think of that? That was so obvious and it seems so smart to execute it like that. When we heard about what KPMG wanted to do, I said, now that is a brilliant, brilliant idea. Take a suite that you would use to host your clients and customers so they can watch Caps and Wizards games and innovate within it, do training sessions within it, essentially make it a destination and sell what your promise of being consultants and business leaders is, which is how to engage people to think differently.
All right, thanks. Well, I hope you enjoyed seeing that. I thought it was pretty interesting for this drone to be flying through the arena there. And, you know, the owner of Monumental, one thing that really stuck with him, he's like, you know, some ideas sound so simple once you hear about them and once you see them implemented, and you ask yourself, like, why haven't we always done that? So I think KPMG is onto something here and looking at a physical space in a unique and creative way to make it a destination and to get more use out of it. So they've made it multi-purpose in a really unique way, and they're now investing in centers in Atlanta and Denver and Chicago and all over. So they've seen the nice benefit from that. So hopefully you enjoyed a unique example there. What I wanted to share here from my hometown and my own university, I just had my 25th reunion at Georgia Tech, so that's sombering thought. But what the space you're seeing here is for the Georgia Tech Foundation, which is where the $3 billion endowment for the university is managed. So very mission critical. And previously 100% of their trustees would physically come to this space for meetings. So this would be, you know, the CEO of the Coca-Cola Enterprises and the CEO of Accenture North America and the CEO of Waffle House, right? So all these different executives coming in, and you know, they would previously always meet in person. And then they went 100% remote. And as they started to come back and have meetings, they started complaining a lot about the room. Now, the room hadn't changed, but that's the rub, right? The room was no longer good enough, and it was no longer parity of experience. So people that were remote actually felt more connected to the meeting versus people there. So we did a hybrid experience upgrade here, which is a trend that I'm seeing where all the different human communication modalities need to be considered. Sight of the people, sight of the content, really high quality audio, and knowing who's talking. So we recently just made this update. They've had a couple of board meetings, and it's been great to see the users, which are all senior executives of different companies, applaud the CIO and the president of the foundation on this. And I'm seeing this being a trend. And you have to really consider the design carefully. You can't just fling one or two technology elements out there. So if this isn't some like hardware thing, just throw it out there. You have to look at the holistic user experience. And I think, Gary, you touched on that at the beginning as well, how important that user experience is. So you kind of see at the bottom, like hybrid experience upgrade, the visual display, the spatial audio, the intelligent camera tracking, native Teams rooms. And what that means is I can see in the room everybody who's in the meeting. I can see chat. I can see who has a raised hand, all that contextual information coming into play. So to me, it's a fascinating example. It's not a company, it's a foundation, but they're doing really critical things. Gary, I just want to see what your thoughts are about the user experience in a setting like this.
I mean, it's critical because the kind of people that are going to use that room obviously are not technologists. They're people that are fundraisers and people that have relationships with big donors at the university. And so it has to be kind of sit down and use experience, not even a walk up and use experience. The other thing about this, this is an evolving technology too. Like, for example, what's really cool, and I know Michael will appreciate this as well, in rooms like this, especially where you have like a large digital canvas, we now have camera technology coming this year using AI, where we can put cameras on the sides and we can sum to the middle, as opposed to having everyone look slightly up, like look like they're looking like this or look like they're looking like this, because the camera's placed either at the top or the bottom of the screen. So this is an evolving thing. I mean, the microarray technology used in this room, Peter, 2 years ago didn't exist. 3 years ago didn't exist.
Right.
And so therefore, the audio is significantly better. So what to keep in mind here is in these rooms that you're not locked into one technology like you used to be back in the old days. And in fact, as Microsoft, this is using Front Row, obviously, first off, I'm glad to hear Microsoft's upgrading the resolution of Front Row, because I'm sure right now you can't read the chat and you can't read the names of the participants in that room, but they are making it high resolution. But also they're going to add spatial audio, and that will help too, because when you have a large digital canvas, you'll know where to look. And then of course you'll have to put in spatial audio on the far side as well, like in this room. So I think there's a lot of really, and I love the idea of a large digital canvas. I love what, Michael, you've done with just saying, why are we limiting ourselves to a rectangle? Why don't we just make it as big as it needs to be, and then provide whatever content we want to provide in there and make it sort of universal. And the experiential application, I'm sure, Michael, you have Starbucks like cafes in addition to your gaming rooms and the climbing walls and things like that. You also
even have printing of your coffee from a 3D printer.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you have to do whatever you got to do, because each demographic's going to have a different reason to go. Older people in the say over 35 and older are going to come to work to get away from their kids and to get away from their spouse and things like that. Younger people are going to come because they want to collaborate and they want to work around other people their age. There are two different reasons, right? So you can't just say, oh, well, we're going to provide a cafe and that's going to make everyone want to come back. Video gaming is going to draw young people, not necessarily older people, whereas the cafe would be more likely to draw older people. In addition to these other ideas, Michael, and I'm excited to see sort of how this is playing out in real life in your facility.
Yeah, no, definitely, Gary. It's not only just the combination of these different things, as I mentioned earlier, but also, different things that have a different weight of importance to different people, different demographics, people from different backgrounds, different personality types, and so making spaces that appeal to all of them is key. But just touching on the technology side of things, right? Multi-purpose is key for us as well, right? Is it's not just a space that's built to do one thing, but it's designed to be able to facilitate a number of different potential use cases, potential applications. And I think one of the really great things about the Cyviz technology in general is its flexibility for us to chop and change and move things around and have many different sources of content coming in, having one easy way to no pun intended there on the name of the product, but we're really focused as an organization on standardizing experience, right? For any of our people that come into an Accenture office around the globe, we really want them to be able to feel at home, know how to use the technology, feel comfortable using it, feel comfortable operating it, and more importantly, we're making them feel comfortable at using the advanced capabilities of technology, right? That's one of the areas that, specifically this type of technology has been underutilized by people, because the IT organization can buy some super whiz-bang display, but if nobody knows how to use it, those functions will never get used. So standardizing on that and making it easy for people to be able to operate in a standard way really helps us, lower support costs, but also, really get people enthused with using the full capabilities of the tech that we've deployed.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Michael. I mean, I'll stress this for our technology, but really anyone's as well. When it comes to group technology versus your individual computing device, like nobody takes training for their iPhone or their Android, right? You just play around with it, or you ask, hey, Gary, how do I do this? Michael, how do I take a screenshot? But people are kind of reticent of doing that with any group shared technology. And I'll say it's really important to have some of this usage and adoption and awareness of the art of the possible. Like, what can you do? Here I shared a couple of just examples to wrap up this segment. But on the top left, this CEO of a pharmaceutical company, their business was exploding during COVID because there was so much pharmaceutical lab testing going on. She used to do all her training, that she was charging thousands of dollars for, in hotels, and had to go remote. And it was really important for her to see each and every participant, but still have the complete ease and comfort. In that case, this was a Zoom room, and needed to do tracking, right, Gary, to your point, like wherever she was going, she wanted people to really feel connected. So it was iterative. That's the other thing I want to stress, is like it was iterative going back and forth on this. And then you see a group here on the top right there managing offshore energy resources from an onshore management center. They used to all get in helicopters, fly out to these offshore resources, and now they're doing it onshore. I mean, that's a complete game changer in terms of capabilities, reach, and scale. So in the interest of time, I'll move on, but hopefully this has been a bit interesting in terms of seeing different companies and different industries, different use cases. To me, it's just exciting to see physical spaces and people envisioning a different use for it. The bottom left, for example, I had to put myself there and one of our sales reps, David Schlotthauer, because people thought it was just a desktop PC, right? So that was a Houston skyscraper that wanted to do a whole upgrade and make it more of a destination and an event space for the lobby entrance. So there's some interesting things. So you could call that digital signage, but then it's also a game watching night and party night. Michael, as you said, you guys are doing yoga lessons or dance lessons in that space. Why not? That's a fun group activity.
One of the questions that came in, Peter, is all the images that you're showing are using large format LED and LCD. What about projection in these spaces?
Yeah, actually, the bottom right example, that's a rear blended projection system that we did with GlaxoSmithKline. And we still do projection. In fact, top right, that's front blended projection as well. So thanks for asking that. Yeah, I mean, we have the spectrum of display technologies: fine pitch LED, narrow bezel LCD, or projection still has its place as well. And that's where we originally started 25 years ago. And now I've expanded. So thank you for that. Good question. So let's talk. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was going to talk about, I'm going to just show you something live here on enhanced hybrid collaboration. You heard me talk about an enhanced hybrid experience, and I really think this is a trend that's going to continue to grow. Our perspective comes from, we've had our own Cyviz experience centers worldwide. So these are more showrooms and experience centers than they are offices. So we've gone through this experience ourselves of needing to upgrade this, and you can see it increasing number of blue dots that are our partner sites as well. So I'm speaking not only from our customer experience, but also what we have ourselves experienced through this and had to iterate on. So I wanted to touch on this concept of human communication modalities. So it's a fancy way of saying, right, what factors are important when you're designing this? And I'm going to be a little contrarian. The first thing you have to worry about is audio. I used to work many years ago at the world's largest audio conferencing company. And conferencing, what we're doing today, started with audio, and then it got added slides, and then it added video and other whiz-bang features, but it started with audio. And if you don't have high quality, full duplex audio, like both of us can be talking, can talk over each other, just like you can if we were all in the same physical space, you're dead in the water. So you have to think about that. And that means you have to think about microphones and speakers and spatial audio is coming. So then you get directional audio as well. And audio also lets you then tell the video cameras, where do you need to go for the active speaker? So next one, of course, is I want to see all the participants. If we're all, like right now, I'm talking to a webcam, we became first-class citizens during COVID, where we all had our own individual webcam. So it was very clear. Peter's talking, Michael's talking, Carrie, Emily are talking, Sheila's talking, right? It was very clear to us. So when you're designing it in the room, you have to think more carefully. And now we have the ability to put multiple lower cost cameras into the room and switch between them. And that's what we did at Georgia Tech. That's what we're doing with Accenture and others. Others are the active speaker element. And I'll share there, an interesting thing is you'd think zooming in on just one person talking is what everybody's asking for, but they're actually more, after they play with it, going like, when my head turns and my eyes turn in a physical space, I'm looking at a segment of the room, not just an individual person. So we've iterated on that. So we now actually do kind of group shots instead of just the individuals. So I find that interesting, getting the feedback. And then collaborate on content. I intentionally did the parentheses there with the S, and that just like the image at the beginning with the return to office home workers having multiple displays and multiple applications up, people want that replicated in a physical collaborative space. Michael's laptop is up, Sheila's laptop is, Peter's laptop is up. Let me dynamically move and resize those. We're taking that same human factor and bringing it into the room. And then last thing I'll say there is full meeting context. So that kind of jumped ahead there, sorry. So full meeting context, chat, raised hands, feedback, attendees. Microsoft calls this, equitable, inclusive meetings concept, but you want to see everything, just as if you had logged into Teams, Zoom, or WebEx and had all that meeting context. So with that, these are kind of some of the characteristics from a technology building blocks, but you have to think about design-wise, and we have a healthy obsession with the user experience design, I call it, bless you, where audio, video, and content, I guess they couldn't, Gary was sneezing on the backstage there, that's why I said bless you. Anyway, these are the three attributes you think about. So let's get real. This is the room that I'm in right now, and you're seeing a picture of it. I'm going to show it to you live. Now here, this is a view of Microsoft Teams front row, right, where the Visio participants are at the bottom. My lovely wife is our talent on the top right who joined me for this meeting. You can see raised hands, you can see chat. This was the V1, version 1 of this. And as Gary correctly said, Microsoft's modifying this. There's a new version coming out where they'll let you change. Where do you want this information? Higher resolution so it's clear. But I'm going to switch off from sharing here and just turn on my other camera here so you get some different views. So here's the space that I'm in, and if you could make sure to make that large for everybody. And you can see, I have the content right now, and I'm just using my fingers, I'm pinching and zooming in this and making it larger. So it's the same user interface. Each of you are experts on Windows or your Mac OS, and we've just extended it into the room. We looked at all the different ways of doing this. Wands, where you grab things in the air, or gloves, and actually what everybody's memorized is how to interact with their smartphones through touch. So we just extended that concept into the physical collaborative space. The other thing we did was let you put multiple applications up. So I'm going to say here, add pip. I'm going to add another source here. So now I have another laptop. This could be Sheila's laptop that she's sharing here in the room. And you can see there's even a side display here that's actually touch. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to say this whiteboard, I'd like for it to be mirrored up. So I'm now going to get up and kind of show you this experience where you don't even have to buy expensive collaborative software. Microsoft Whiteboard is exposed now on the taskbar for free. So I'm just going to bring that up. You know, I have group collaborative applications. I could share this link with Michael or with Espen in our Norway office. And here, you know, I can talk about the convergence of AV, IT, unified communications, which we're all dealing with, those three industries slamming together and the disruption and opportunities that presents. But I've just taken that touch whiteboard, mirrored it up on the large video wall so everybody can see that. And then I can also like share that in for the remote participants for them to see. So this is a really easy way of making things more interactive, dynamic, more collaborative in the room. The other thing I'll share with you is it also dawned on us that you could take advantage of the entire screen real estate. So here I have just a Windows PC with an upgraded NVIDIA graphics card capable of taking advantage of the full screen resolution, our pixel playground, we sometimes call it. So here you're seeing one of my favorite applications, windy.com, where you can see the weather worldwide right now. We can also see, okay, what does it look like in terms of rain? What does it look like in terms of wind? So this is visualizing millions of data points in real time. And then you can just graphically see what's going on, including things like, let me take a look at wind, but let me look at it on the jet stream. So here now you can see the global jet stream. But the last thing I'll show is all flights that are currently in the air in real time worldwide. So you can see all these flights. You can get telemetry data on individual ones, a flight going from Frankfurt to Orlando, and you can instantly visually see that there are no flights, obviously, over Ukraine with the conflict that's going on there right now. So these are just, the reason I share this is we're taking concepts that knowledge workers already have, human gestures with their smartphones, multiple windows from their home and laptop computing devices, and taking them, bringing that into the room. So as Gary and Michael said, that somebody can just walk into a room and start using it and not have to learn a brand new interface for a human technology interface. So pretty cool stuff. Last thing I'll show is also the ability where if you have a command and control center, you can bring up content from, you know, a dozen different sources in real time. And then you could say, all right, the thing that's most important to me right now is I need to see this one piece of content. And then that's what we're focused on as a team. So if you think about the way people really collaborate, or the way you do work yourself with Outlook open, Excel, multiple browser tabs, it's the same way it goes with a group. Let's look at Michael's content, Peter's content, Sheila's content remote, and actually do work versus just talking about it. And I'll stress that point again. Like, we want our systems to help people actually facilitate doing work in real time, getting work done, versus just talking about it and presenting on it. So hopefully that's been a little interesting for you there to see this dynamic where I can just, I'm going to close all these windows again, and you can kind of see, you know, the interplay of our configurable control system with a dynamic video wall on this. And with that, I'm going to switch it back to my front camera here. And I'd love to just kind of open it up now in terms of Q&A and questions.
I want to ask Michael a question really quick. From the time you envision a space to the time you've actually implemented the space, what have you gotten that time frame down to? And also, as a follow-up to that, how much input do you get from other people, or are you pretty much know what they want by now?
Well, that's two really good questions. Of course, you have supply chain questions that come up, and I'll give big props to our management team and to our operations team for ensuring that we have no delays in terms of key components. And we have had to redesign some of the chipsets that we use. We have had to switch from one partner to another partner to ensure we have microphones, for example, but we haven't had any delays in terms of the supply chain side. On the second side, appreciate that question because I spent 10 years in product management. So user-centric design is really important. And this will sound a little weird, but like my opinion, while interested as an innovator, is irrelevant to what does the end user actually care about. So the best thing you can really do is ask questions to multiple different user groups. You heard Michael talk about all these different ways that a physical space is being used. Well, you'd have to interview the executives who want to present there. You'd have to interview his team that want to do group collaborative working sessions. You'd have to interview HR. They want to do training in that space. So I do think it's important to ask different users. I will wrap up with, after 25 years, we certainly have learned a thing or two along the way. We have lots of examples that we can show. And I think that helps speed up the design by having all these reference designs, because it's all standards based. We're not doing custom solutions.
Michael, from a standpoint of Accenture, when you've decided you want to do a space, how much, what does it take? Like from the time you envision, okay, we're going to turn this space into having a final room, what does it take?
Yeah, great question, Gary. And a lot of the big projects and spaces that we're doing together with Cyviz are interconnected with major renovation programs or net new offices that we build. So the Cyviz piece of it is a very small piece of a bigger puzzle, but we work with them from the start together with our architects. Working out, part of this is also getting the technology teams and the creative teams, the architects together to work out what is a space going to look like, what is it going to feel like, and one of the things that's super important to us is how is technology integrated into the use case of that space as opposed to installed into the space afterwards, and that's where we work together. With our own teams and together with the Cyviz team as well, around working out what is the right technology, what is the latest thing that we need to put in there, what is something new that's coming along that we can, augment the use case as we just discussed for the people that are going to use that space.
You're muted.
I don't know why I keep muting myself, or maybe I'm not doing it. I don't know. But in any case, I want to thank everyone for joining us for this Launch and Learn today. This has been a great session. I want to invite you to go to cyviz.com, cyviz.com, to learn more. We're going to take this entire recording and we're going to post it on our archive site under on demand link, so you can actually grab that. We'll also, it's also going to live on my LinkedIn page as well. So you have a chance to forward that to anyone that you think might be interested in this, because what Peter did was show a bunch of different applications, which I thought were really helpful to understand how you can use this. And of course you can connect with any of both our guests, all three of us actually, by clicking our names on the Launch and Learn website as well. Peter, thanks for the demo. Thanks for the good overview of sort of like the concept of doing something bigger than just traditional collaboration. And Michael, thanks for sharing your personal story with what you're doing at Accenture. I appreciate it. I appreciate both of y'all. Thanks for the team behind the scenes, reminding me that I'm muted every once in a while. And thanks for everyone for watching. Y'all have a great day.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.